Salite on this. I'm Amy, and I make videos about language learning and ancient Rome and Greece and so on and so forth, and whatever I feel like discussing at this moment, I suppose. But trying to focus on those things and getting back into learning Latin. So anyway, some people have asked me questions like, why learn languages? Or, what good is it? Or why learn about ancient history? So, in 6th and 7th grade, I took Latin for the first time, and the teacher really made it fun and made it conversational. And we used the book Ecce Romani, which I just bought parts 1 and 2 of, for nostalgic purposes, and also because it has some good cultural things too, and to also get back into learning the vocabulary and grammar, because I studied German and French and Spanish in college, sort of forgot Latin, and really wanted to get back into it. But anyway, like, what good has it done? When I think, I've sort of forgotten Spanish too, because I haven't been using it. But at the same time, I don't regret learning it at all. I mean, I spent 4 years learning it in high school, and probably another year in university. But I wasn't using it just because I was using other languages instead. I felt like I only had time for German and French, I guess. I really feel like if you do study other languages, it helps you with your speaking and writing and comprehension even of English. And, people have complimented just random things I've written that I didn't put any thought into because of the way I word things, I guess. But it's just fun and life-affirming, most of all, I would say. I mean, especially once you get into it and you get the vocabulary so that you are able to access great writers and things in the original language. Like, when I learned German, I wanted to start reading Nietzsche and Goethe and others, and I just picked up random novels in German too, and I watch Deutsche Welle on YouTube just to get the news in German now, just to keep hearing German, I guess. Because I went to Germany and Austria in 2006 in university, and and this was for a language immersion course, and we were there a few weeks, and we spent a week in Vienna, and we were supposed to only speak German there. And when I went into the museums, sometimes they'd have these, the Kopfhörer, like these headphones that you could put on, and it would give you the tour of the museum. And a lot of the people I was with chose to do it in English, and I did it in German because, not just to challenge myself, but because I'm like, why am I even here? I'm here to hear German, and I can't really do that at home, so I definitely wanted to, hear as much German as possible and speak as much German as possible while in Germany and Austria. Because, it does take work, but I feel like the more work you put into it, the greater the rewards are from learning it. And again, people complain about, they're on the internet and everything's depressing, and yes, it is, but a lot of things are depressing, and you watch the news and you're bombarded by war and plagues and death and crime. It's good to balance that out by doing something educational and life affirming also when you're on the internet. So I like to watch videos in other languages and about language learning also. Keeps you from all the doom scrolling some of the time. And it's you can feel good about the time you spent on it. It feels productive, and you can use it for actual communication. unlike, just staring at a screen and passively consuming things, which is fine to do some of the time. It's fine to passively consume entertainment, but you have to balance that out, and I feel that you have to also do things that you're going to feel good about doing, and that's definitely how I feel about learning languages, and I've always felt, and that's why, I've been doing it for decades. So anyway, I took Latin in 6th and 7th grade, and then in 9th through 12th, I took Spanish. And my school had German and French, but, I didn't take those then. So then I went to college for art initially, and then I took a couple years off and moved to Pittsburgh. And there was a half-price bookstore there, which had a foreign language section, and it had like all these language learning books, and it had novels in the languages and so on. And I got so many books for cheap, and this is the book I learned German from. A First German Grammar. It's from like 1917 or thereabouts. You can tell too, like some of the way things are worded here. If we have not everywhere attained the extreme simplicity for which we have striven, we have at least made a sturdy attempt to achieve it. To cite but a single illustration of our care in this regard, we do not begin to teach any part of the definite article before Lesson 9. We do not offer the paradigm of its singular until Lesson 15. Despite the fact that the complete inflection of the definite article is one of the most difficult things for the beginning student to learn, many grammars presented along with several other vexing matters in their opening pages. I mean, I just love the way it's written. And also it's written, I don't know if you can see this. It's written in the Frakturschrift. It's kind of similar to an Old English font. So I actually had trouble, like, figuring out what some of the letters were. Like the S, it looked like an F, and I'm like, does that say sign or fine? I have no idea. But, I just did this religiously. I went through every page and, wrote out just all the repetition of it. And that helped me a lot. Before I ended up majoring in German in college. So I ended up knowing knowing adjective, agreement before we were supposed to, and so that went easier for me. And it's the repetition, and that helps, there is some memorization that's necessary. Memorization, repetition, and I think the Lingua Latina per se Illustrata book for Latin does that very well, and also gets you to think in the language. Because I don't know if I can find it. I made a cartoon at some point, like 20 years ago, in college, and the gist of it was that when you're learning the word Kaninchen, you shouldn't translate it to the word rabbit in English or whatever your native language is. You should sort of connect it with the concept of rabbit in your head. The way a child who is learning their first and native language does. When the kid points to a dog and says, "What's that?" They have the concept of dog in their mind, but they don't have the word for it. So they directly label the dog with the word dog. Like you would directly label it canis in Latin rather than saying, well, canis, that's dog in English, and therefore we're talking about a dog, and you're doing all this stuff in your head, and it's not very direct. So that's why conversational language learning, tends to stick a lot better. But then you still need the repetition. There were so many exercises in this. It just changed from singular to plural, or change things from neuter to masculine or feminine. And that's another thing I see people have difficulty with, is grammatical gender. And since I took Latin class at a very young age, I didn't have that much problem with that. You know, when I got to other languages like German and French, and people also have some difficulty in German with the word order, and I didn't have any trouble with that at all, because I'd already learned Latin, which is highly inflected, and the words can go in pretty much any order. I mean, there are conventions where it's normal to put the things in a certain way, you know, where the verb goes and where adjectives go. The meaning is less determined by word order than it is in English. So it just gets you thinking in a different way about words and the information contained in each word. So that's helpful, I think, with Latin. And also with any language, you know, you get access to the great writers and the great thinkers in that language directly. Whereas, you know, I've worked as a translator for more than 10 years now, and when something is translated, it is the interpretation of the translator. You know, you're not directly accessing the text. You're saying the translator is sort of giving you the gist of it as best they can, because one word is not necessarily directly translatable into another language, you know, without making some assumptions or, you know, again, just interpretations. So that really opens up a lot of things, and just different ways of thinking about things, and again, it's just very life affirming, I think. So anyway, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, and why I started this channel, because I'm getting back into Latin and learning a little bit of ancient Greek, but I haven't done a lot of that yet. So I'm mostly interested in Latin right now, and just retaining German. Even though I use German every day, it's good to watch movies. I mean, I love Werner Herzog, and, you know, I just will read websites and things and talk to German-speaking friends and things like that. But it also means I have to work on my accent a lot when, you know, trying to speak Latin again, because I'm so used to Germanic languages, and I feel like just doing schwas all the time, like, I feel like it probably sounds messy or lazy or something. I don't know. So anyway, I just wanted to ramble about that. I also got 4 of these little bone dice, and these would be used in various games in ancient times, and they're made from bones. And then there was also a knuckle bones game, and I've been like researching these, and I want to talk about those. And there was also a game that was similar to chess, so I'm going to talk about those. And I also did some like science experiments in the backyard with some hair of mine that I cut off, trying ancient dye methods like vinegar and soda ash and henna leaves. The henna leaves worked well. I have that here. There's some tinsel mixed in with that, don't mind that. But yeah, it was blonde hair, and now it's rather red. But I didn't want to experiment on myself exactly. I wanted to have some disembodied hair to experiment on. Re-uploading the video about the parts of the skull, Yorick Secundus, because I wanted to add a few things, and also I wanted to play through Tomb Raider. Eventually I'd like to play through some other games, but I'm just sort of making sure I know the vocabulary for it, like learning words, and I'll try to put the vocabulary on screen better in future videos. I think I could improve on that. But also, so anyway, that's my rambling and my plans, and thanks for watching. We'll get some more things up shortly. Also, expecting conversational Latin for oral proficiency to get here in the mail. And also thanks to Net. I was making, it's a quill pen from a turkey feather, and I'll be doing a video on the history of writing instruments Thanks, Alex, also. He got me some of this awesome paper. But yes, thanks to everybody, and I will be working on various other things.